Waves was one of the most visually striking and emotionally devastating films of 2019. Directed by Trey Edward Schultz and shot by Drew Daniels, it shows the story of a family from South Florida and the downfall of their son and the repercussions that it has on the family. In today's video, I'll be going over the cinematography of Waves by breaking down the film, talking about their use of movement and colour, as well as why the aspect ratio changes so much. I'll also be going over what equipment that they use to achieve the compelling look. If you're watching this, then you have hopefully seen Waves and know about the 180 that it takes halfway through. I'm going to quickly go over Act 1, 2 and 3 and break down the highlights of each before I analyse the cinematography, but if you have seen it recently then go to this point. Waves shows the life of a family going through a tragedy. We see the perspective of two characters throughout, both Tyler Williams and his younger sister Emily. Tyler is shown to be pushed in order to further his career by his father, but it takes a toll on him. He turns to drugs and alcohol after finding out that his girlfriend Alexis is pregnant, and that she decides to keep the baby. They end up breaking up and Tyler's mental health starts to deteriorate after seeing her with other people. The film has a sort of midpoint climax where Tyler drives to a house party to confront Alexis. He drinks heavily at the party and follows her into the garage where an argument quickly turns physical. He hits her, causing her to fall to the floor and hit her head. We then find Tyler running away and driving home before being arrested, which is when we find out that Alexis has died from her injuries. He is sentenced to life with the eligibility of parole in 30 years. This is when the film takes a turn and we follow his sister Emily for the next hour. Whilst this half of the film is often seen as boring or tedious, in reality it is showing you the effects that your actions have on others around you. We find Emily going through school and struggling with the fact that she could have stopped her brother and is now feeling guilty. She meets Luke, one of Tyler's old teammates, and he is able to get Emily to open up and talk to him. She pushes for Luke to make amends with his estranged, dying father, which he does, and she consoles him after he dies. The film ends with the same shot that we see in the beginning. Emily riding her bike down an empty street with her arms in the air. She's finally free from the guilt that she felt from her brother. A mentor once said to me, only do a film with somebody you'd want to go on a road trip with, and Trey is absolutely one of those people. Drew Daniels has shot every one of Trey Edward Schultz's feature films, and over the years they have gotten to know how each other work. The cinematography of Waves is both extravagant but still right for the story. Their wide use of aspect ratios throughout, or how they use movement, are all aspects as to why this film has some of the most compelling cinematography in recent years. Daniel's use of movement throughout Waves is unique. We range from frantic movement to slow and just to zoom in. Moving the camera is extremely important to Trey Edward Schultz though. In an interview about the cinematography, he said, "To me, it's trying to let the camera be an extension of the character's headspace, where they're at, internally, emotionally." The most memorable scenes throughout are probably those where we are thrown 360 degrees several times. It allows him to take the audience into the character's world. When talking about why the circular camera movements are important to him, Schultz said, "When I was a teen, my room was my personal place, and then it was my car. Being in the car with somebody I love was ultimate freedom. But also that age is chaos, so spinning between their bodies felt like Tyler and Alexis's relationship. That camera movement felt like an image of young love. It's beautiful and free, but also dangerous and scary." That motif comes back later between Emily and Luke, when they're in a similar state in their relationship. In Waves, the aspect ratio is yet another extension of the character's state of mind, and you can really see it during the pinnacle fight scene between Tyler and Alexis. The frame shrinks, making us feel more confined in the space and ultimately more entranced in the story. In Tyler's storyline, we range from 185, 240, 266, which is the native aspect ratio for anamorphic on the Alexa Mini, then 3.0 and eventually 1.33. Emily's half starts in 1.33, moving to 2.66 and ending up at the beginning in 1.85. Talking about the changes in aspect ratios, Schultz said, "At times I treat the ratio changes like chapter markers." Schultz wanted the colour, much like the camera movement, to be another aspect of the cinematography that feels true to what the character is feeling and brings you into their world. According to Schultz though, a specific colour doesn't mean a certain emotion, it was more about what these colours feel like. When talking about their use of bold colours in the film, Schultz said, "When you're that age, you're emotional and you feel everything. The saturation feels spiritually honest to Tyler and Emily." Overall, Schultz and Daniels used a range of techniques in order to achieve the unique look of Waves. From extravagant camera movements to their range of aspect ratios, they have created an electric yet alarming world. Daniels used the Arri Alexa Mini paired with a multitude of lenses from Panavision Primos to Ultraspeed Mark IIs and SLZ 11s, but there are so many lenses used that I can't go through all of them. The Alexa Mini is a semi-budget cinema camera and was perfect for the film due to its small form factor and incredible sensor. Schultz and Daniels decided to mix spherical and anamorphic, which is unusual but not unheard of. This was partly due to the extravagant change of aspect ratios, but also because it allows the audience to get closer to the character's headspace. They decided to use it with Tyler anytime he was involved with a controlled substance, and using it in the opposite way with Emily when showing love. There were several uses of extravagant flares throughout the film, and this was down to the fact that Schultz fell in love with Panavision's ultra speeds and how they were able to create a circular flare. Ultimately, everything from their wide use of aspect ratios to bold colours and movement helped make the cinematography in this film unique but iconic. Schultz will use whatever lens or grip equipment that he has to in order to create the vision that he had in mind, and he had a great team to help him. I hope you enjoyed this video looking at Drew Daniels' cinematography on Waves and why Trey Edward Schultz decided to do what he did. If you have a cinematographer or film that you'd like to see me do a video on, leave a comment down below. If you found this video helpful, a thumbs up is appreciated, and if you'd like to see more videos like this, then hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.